up and down in circles thinking he was finna get the most premium free e-sex of his life. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know how you could be mad at me for that, nigga. Like, listen, be mad at yourself for that shit. Oh God, I didn't make you do that. I did not make you sit there and type and send a smiley face rocket emoji, nigga. I've never done something like that. Like, this nigga acting like I'm the one who had the G63 to the back of his head and make this nigga type this shit.
If I'm a 14-year-old kid, then how is it going to be weird if I get horny from a girl? I'm a 14-year-old kid.
Yo, we do not need to talk about this, bro. Yo, listen, when you do it your time, is when you do it your time. I'm not judging. Listen, like, if you're one of those freaksters, nigga, if you're one of those humans, I'm not even gonna judge you. Because a lot of people in this community are those humans. If you're that kind of human, I don't judge you at all.
Porn is very pervasive, where sex work is very pervasive, where
what is value talking about? Yeah, for sure, bro.
Yeah, you have to understand. Where we have this,
I don't think I want to understand that.
14-year-old kid in sex culture. Of course,
I actually don't think I want to understand a 14-year-old sex drive, bro. Actually, I don't think I care much about that. I'm gonna keep it about.
Yeah, so now
I don't think anyone in this VC wants to know about your sex drive when you were 14. I'm gonna be completely 100 with you.
It's gonna be relevant because that's a child.
I'm an adult now. Yo, bro.
So I don't understand how you're gonna ridicule a child
for being so emotionally invested into something, nigga. Emotional regulation is so important.
Do you think a child can?
You gotta lock in
or something like that? Do you think a 14-year-old can consent to sex?
Nigga, what does that matter to me, nigga? I don't interact with 14-year-olds, nigga. Nor does your consent matter to me because I'm not the one who was in your situation, and that's not a situation to where you were even fucking anyways. The whole screenshot is you getting horny, nigga. I don't even know if you even got horny. This nigga probably was just excited to interact with a girl in COVID. I don't even know what the purpose of that was. Matter of fact, I'm finna just send a screenshot so niggas can know, because you try to make it weird. Like, nigga, what are you talking about consent? What does that have to do with me? Hold on, bro. Let me say this shit. Wait, do you mind if I said it? Actually, I don't really give a fuck, nigga. That shit was like 4 years ago. Let's see this shit. I gotta see. I gotta let niggas know what I'm talking about. Hold on, bro.
Wait. Like, I can agree.
Actually, I'm not even finna bring you in. I'm gonna get Shaggy.
This is fine. Like, I can agree. Like, when I was 14, I got.
Oh, we doing that. This is little nigga with a hype. I get it. It's calm.
Little nigga, bro. You literally were caught on Snapchat pouring your heart out.
I just was not doing that,
girl, nigga. When you were 17 years old. What are you talking
17? About? You just said it was 2 years ago. How old am I?
Now? Are you not 19?
I'm 18, retard. Are you
then
moron?
It was 1 year ago. I was wrong about your age. That's
even worse, you
stupid bitch.
So I was 17 when this happened.
That's even worse.
So that's weird because all throughout my 17th year, I was in an IRL relationship.
A year ago,
and off of Discord.
Pouring your heart out to a bitch. Over the internet, nigga. You are a bitch.
Yeah, nigga. 14, are you that angry, nigga, that you gotta make up a whole lie?
I was a little
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I think I know the exact screenshot you're referring to. Unironically, I do. That screenshot was formulated, I think, if we're referring to the same one, in like 2022. I'm not gonna lie, 2020 or 2022, when I was like 14 or 15.
On the 14-year-old.
100%, if that's the screenshot I think you're referring to, because I'm not sure, because either way I wasn't pouring my heart out in that screenshot.
No sense for you to say that.
Wait, actually, what screenshot are you referring to? Because I'm thinking of the one with Heike. That's like the only thing with Snapchat that like brings my mind.
How are you gonna ridicule?
And that was like a part of the doc scenario. That's why I'm like confused what you're talking about. Hold on. By the way, this isn't chat. This is what I'm referring to. So I don't know why you brought up sexual consent, you horny ass goonster. Like, I'm not gonna lie, nigga. I'm gonna keep it back. Like, what does this have to do? You're setting me up in quotes.
You're talking about me getting horny at something when I was 14.
How did you get
You're
cream
talking
on
about
your
me
face?
getting horny at something when I was 14. That's ridiculing a child for their sexual
you need
impulse.
some help with that.
That's obviously
set it up what? I was just doing a face treatment. Oh, you had cream on your face? You know what you're setting me up for? Nigga, smirk rocket. What possibly was the reaction to this?
The sexual impulse of a 14-year-old kid.
You lame ass nigga, bro. Like, listen, I can understand why you're so angry. I would be just as angry if I were you. I'm not gonna lie. In this situation, I would be sending my face right now.
Oh God, this nigga.
I can completely understand. If you dox me right now, I completely get it. Cause this is pathetic, gang.
Do you actually want to
listen? You can blame you being 14 all you want, but clearly you're still socially inept if you took it this serious. So I'm not gonna lie, you just proven to the VC that you care that much. You're emotionally invested into a screenshot that was 4 years ago, gang. Do you not see how you're crashing out right now because you were a lame ass nigga? How are you gonna be mad at me for that?
I'm telling you, like, if you're gonna ridicule a child for their sexual impulse,
he used to deepen his voice and ask a girl. Wait, I remember that.
To anything sexual.
Oh nah, right? So bro. See, I got a whole lame ass nigga talking to me.
It's just gonna be.
Yo, listen, it's calm though.
They can't consent.
It's calm though. It's calm though.
I'm
finna get. Wait, Apollo. Do you got that screenshot?
That's obvious.
The Snapchat, because I think he's referring to that one with Heike. Can you send that in chat real quick?
This nigga is retarded.
I was gonna say, because we can fully go over it. We could. You don't? Hold on, it's probably on someone's page. I was gonna say, because I genuinely forgot about that shit. I'm not even gonna lie. Wait, what's Yanni's page when he did that little diss? Yanni and C. Yanni C Archi diss. It's on like Shinra's channel, right?
My boys there.
Let's see. Discord debates. I was gonna say. I think we're gonna get into it. Okay.
Perfect. I have a question. You
want are we doing like an expose for an expose? What's going on?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but I don't understand. Like, this is obviously
my fault, nigga. Excuse me, nigga.
Now I'm not.
All right, let's see.
That's back when I was 14.
That's because you just birthed him right, or birthed.
Nigga, my bad.
No,
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Who has that screenshot? I genuinely want to send it.
I mean, like, this is
because this shit is hilarious to me. I mean, like, no, nigga. Yeah, you're lame as fuck, bro. Like, listen. I'm gonna be honest. Listen, I'm gonna break this down for you and for the VC. Listen. Yes, I can say the N-word, nigga. Like, relax, bro. I am black. I promise you, I'm black, partially. Now, listen. The reality of the nature is that you have to understand, okay? You're just a lame ass nigga, and that's okay. Some niggas are just lame as fuck. You know what I'm saying? There's a girl for you. There are plenty of lame ass e-girls out there that are socially inept, are into the whole cream rocket business. I'm sure there's somewhere out there for you, but you don't have to be angry at me because of this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. Yes, Kyle. Yes, Kyle. This nigga's talking about that. Like, this nigga's a retard, bro. Like, bro, you're so emotionally invested into Discord.com. The reason why, bro, is because you're still just stuck to propositional logic and truth tables, just like you were when you were 14 to 15, nigga. You get no actual like Discord relation, like, you know what I'm saying? You don't have any actual e-relations, because I know that's all you value. You don't possibly have any social relations if you're so invested into e-relations that you still failing. You know what I'm saying? I would be completely understanding if you just went to the VC, you just were honest with us, you just were honest with all of us, and just said that you were a lame ass nigga. If you said right now, I am perfect, I am a lame ass nigga who e-dates on Discord.com at the huge age of 19, I can't get any pussy in real life. I can barely get a job in real life. That'd be completely understanding. I'd be completely understanding of that. I wouldn't even be bullying you right now. You know what I'm saying? The only reason I even mentioned that is because you randomly pinged me. I don't even know you like that, perfect. This is something you have to understand. I do not know you like that. You do not know me like that. I don't associate myself with creatures like you. That's not the reality.
You are
so you have
bitch,
to understand. I don't know you like that. You randomly typed in chat. Perfect. No, shut the fuck up.
Because
you randomly typed in chat. Okay, Archie killing the vibe.
No one likes you. You're killing the vibe.
There was 5 people in VC that called you lame for that. Not even me. There was 5 people in VC that immediately mic'd up and said, "Why are you dick riding?" Perfect. That's because that's all you do. You know what I'm saying? You're known as the community dick rider. That's who you are, bro. You're a community groupie.
You're known,
you know what I'm saying? Do you notice how the only reason you get perms and servers is because you dick ride and cry to niggas in DMs, bro? Do you notice that?
No one thinks you're good. We use you for activity. You're a fake.
Do you understand? Perfect. You have to understand. Listen. It's okay. It's okay. Perfect. You have to understand. You are one of the most loser-like niggas I've ever seen in your entire reality. You know what I'm saying? You are screaming right now, jumping up and down like an autistic Bulgarian bullfrog because you're angry and upset that earlier, like 2 years ago, you got caught, nigga. Like, I'm gonna keep it buck with you lame ass dork. Like, I'm gonna be so honest. You got kicked from your friend group 4 years ago, went on to be depressed, started cutting yourself. We can go there, perfect. You know what I'm saying? We can get into all of your lore. You know what I'm saying? This is the reality that you have to get into, nigga. You are having a full man tantrum. You're having a man tantrum. What are you talking about, you loser? You're having a man tantrum. You know what I'm saying? This is the reality. You are jumping up and down. There's a full bulge popping out of your forehead. These people are laughing at you like you're a monkey.
You'll never have no kids.
You understand this?
You'll never get a wife.
These people are laughing at you.
You'll always be alone.
Like, you gotta hold your composure, dude. You're so emotionally invested, dude. It's just Discord game. No one's finna judge you for the cream rocking nonsense you did years ago. Stop crying. It's okay. You're gonna make them think I'm cyberbullying you. It's not even like that. We chilling. I'm just saying it's okay to be a loser. There's nothing wrong with that.
This fake
And it's okay. That's just who you are. That will forever be who you are, and that's okay.
This fake
that's never ever going to leave your life. You will forever be known as the cream Rocky. That's completely okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people are just destined to being losers. Nigga, but the reality of the nature is you are one, so you just have to stick to the debating. You know what I'm saying? Just stick to the debating, stick to being a good debater, stick to being just a background owner, because every time you're owner in a server, it just dies. You know what I'm saying? That's why when Apollo left his server temporarily and you were owner, no one was typing in it. You know what I'm saying? Just stick to being a background owner, stick to being a debater, stick to your truth tables, and that's completely okay. Then you'll be okay. Then you won't have people crying. Then you won't have people laughing at you. You know what I'm saying? It's okay.
Nigga is a bitch. Oh my goodness,
bitch. Bro, your voice is cracking while calling me a bitch. You have to relax. You have to relax.
No one in
you need to relax as a man. As a man, bro, you just have to relax. It's okay.
Bro, run a poll. Who thinks Archie is here?
What are you talking? Run a poll. How old are you? Perfect. How old are you?
Is here to run a poll?
Perfect. How old are you?
I've said it 1800
Perfect. You are 19 stuttering over running polls, bro. Do you understand how ridiculous this is? This is no way. There's no way you're a real human. You can't be a real human, bro. Is this rage bait? Are you rage baiting me, Perfect? Are you clip farming right now, bro? Are you just doing this for activity?
Something I did.
Yo, bro, I'm gonna believe that you're just doing this for activity. This is what I'm gonna believe. I'm gonna believe, Perfect, that you're not actually mentally ill. I'm gonna believe that you don't have the emotional capability and capacity of a 12-year-old. I'm gonna believe that you don't actually project all of your personal issues onto people when you get pressed. I'm gonna pretend that you're not the cream rocket and that you didn't try ridiculously to slide in someone's DMs just to get screenshotted because it was actually one of your friends catfishing you loser. Oh, I didn't mention that part, dude. Oh, y'all want to know who the person in the screenshot was?
You're the only one.
I can tell you that was not a girl. Yo, I'm not even finna do you like that, but whoever knows. Spooky, Tabaki. Oh, I know that name Tabaki really hurts her. Yeah, guess who was in the screenshot? Listen. It's okay. Listen, a nigga catfished you. Your own friend catfished you. You got backdoored by your friend. I'd be completely understanding of this. Listen. The reality is, bro. This is the reality. Listen. You got catfished by your friends, man. You thought it was an e-girl. When you got that DM, you started jumping up and down. Your heart started racing. You threw your phone on the bed, put your face in the covers. You're like,
this is when I was 14.
Oh my God. You know, you thought it was a girl. You went back to your phone. You texted her just like, hey, how are you doing? You know, you tried flirting and stuff. And you were so happy. That was the happiest you had ever been. You know what I'm saying? It was COVID. You couldn't really get outside. It was 2020 at the time. I completely understand. But the reality of the nature is that was just a boy. So I'm sure that at the end of the day, when you found out that realization that it was actually your friend, it must have hurt. I completely understand.
How are you? So are you going to continue to ridicule a child?
Just stop it, bro. It's over. It's over. Just stop. Listen. I'm gonna do this for you.
Archie, are you down? Are you down?
Because clearly, this is not your expertise. You don't really know how to pack. You can't really VC defend yourself. This just isn't your thing. So I'll even give you this opportunity. Would you like to debate? Perfect. Because I saw you type that in chat, say that I won't. As if I haven't bitched you multiple times on multiple topics. And I know you're going to deny it as you did previously, even though I have the recording of you muting me and kicking me out of your server after I beat you and you actually owe me what? What is that? You owe me 2 nitros for winning that tourney? Technically that I was supposed to win until you banned me and muted me at the server because I went and got judgment over you. You know what I'm saying? I know you're going to ignore that. You're going to say it didn't happen. So how about we just debate right now? You feel me? We could just debate right now. I could use you for more activity. Yeah, you can get turned into the activity slot. Just debate. It's fun. So, if you want to do a topic, what topics do you do, Mr. Perfect?
He does ethics.
We can run abortion.
Ethics, abortion. Okay. And what stance do you take on abortion?
Apollo VC, by the way. Pro-life.
Let me turn you up, bro. You got a little slobber in your mic, bro. You might want to wipe your screen, bro. What do you say?
Yeah. So
I also want to get a moderator.
30 minutes. Is ridiculous.
We can.
Yeah, I'll moderate. I can even judge if
I can barely hear you, bro.
I'm really can
Apollo's over talking you because you're irrelevant, bro. You gotta mic up a little bit.
Could I just say like one thing real quickly? I'm saying that I could moderate the conversation, and if you guys are willing for me to judge the debate itself, I can have like a judgment for the debate. If you guys
I'll be taking more. I don't have like an affirmed position on abortion myself, but I'd still be very, very interested in taking the topic. So what proposition do you hold to regarding abortion? More people are actually found to be pro-choice than that. So I'm assuming you just have a different definition of counterintuitive. So I'd love to hear.
No, so I think it's just going to lead to counterintuitive conclusions.
I'm glad you could repeat yourself. So back to my question. What do you mean by counterintuitive?
Right. So that's not a repeating of the claim because what you
I never said you repeated the claim.
You literally
I said you repeated yourself in the instance beforehand. Was that your initial claim? Because that wasn't encompassing all of the commitments you had.
Obviously, I made a claim in the instance beforehand. I claimed that it's going to be counterintuitive in terms of the outcomes.
So you agree you repeated it? Okay, thank you. So can you define counterintuitive for the DC, please?
And then I said I did not repeat the claim.
You just said you made one beforehand, but then literally like a few minutes beforehand, you just made the claim.
Right?
So what are you talking about? You didn't say then.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
You said you didn't repeat it beforehand and then got caught repeating it.
Yeah, I said I made
you can do all of this like optic nonsense all you want and keep like repeating yourself, but I just want a definition for what you mean by counterintuitive.
I said it's not a repetition of the claim.
Okay, get it out, man. So what do you think counterintuitive is?
It's not going to be a repetition of the claim because...
Yeah, I never said that was a refutation of the claim. I haven't refuted the claim yet. Right now, I'm trying to get a full idea of what you define for your parameters so I can accurately respond without strawmanning you. So what do you think counterintuitive means?
Can we get a talking stick? Let's get a talking stick. Apollo, let's get a talking stick.
Is this guy retarded?
Apollo, let's get a talking stick.
Sure, man. If you want a talking stick, that's completely fine. So can you define counterintuitive, please?
Wait.
How about you get a job, perfect?
Yeah, Apollo said bet. He said, give me 1 second.
Mute him while I talk.
I got you, man.
All right, we're gonna do a stop.
Just remember, just define counterintuitive. That's the current question.
I don't know why he keeps spurging. It's like he doesn't want to actually engage. Can someone mute him? Thank you. So he said I was repeating myself. I wasn't repeating myself because the initial thing I said was it's going to lead to counterintuitive outcomes. He asked, well, since most people think that it's intuitive for pro-choice, how is it going to be counterintuitive? Right. So that's obviously not going to be repeating myself because I'm acknowledging that, sure, they can think at base or prima facie it's going to be intuitive to be pro-choice. But once they reflect and get into the outcomes, that's when they're going to think it's counterintuitive. So it's not as if I'm using some proprietary notion of intuitive, right? I'm just going to be referring to our intellectual seemings. Like if I say 1 + 1 = 2, that's intuitive. That's going to be an example of intellectual seeming. Or if we talk about transitivity, that's going to be an example of intellectual seeming. So it's going to be those types of things. And so you guys can unmute them now. I just wanted to explain.
So that doesn't seem to actually explain what being counterintuitive means. Now, obviously, what I take something to be counterintuitive, it just means that it would go against what you would normally expect based off of, common sense and initial intuition. Now, if you're going to claim that such thing is counterintuitive, obviously we would have to be given some form of reason or motivation towards such claim. Or such claim would just seem to be motivationalist, and it would be based in either A, which we would conclude to be out of ignorance, or out of B, to be disingenuousness. Now, obviously, you referenced the prima facie, which, by the way, for everyone in VC, that just means face value. I don't really know why he said that, or at least at the initial glance.
That's the technical term
that
in
people
the
would. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you interrupting me when you asked for the talking stick? Oh, gotcha. Now back to what I was saying, right? Obviously, we have to understand the reality of the nature is, you know what I mean? If you're going to make such a claim that it is prima facie, or that at least on initial glance, people would be more, motivated to the negation, I would ask for some basis of like data, maybe of like a consensus of a certain group or a majority group to where we can level off of, or else I could just make the equal interpretation that it's not much such. And, I'm saying, unless we both give a preponderance of evidence or some, unique factor that necessarily leads to our conclusion or more likely leads to our conclusion, it would just seem that your initial claim is kind of useless. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so obviously I haven't gotten into the evidence for the claim. That's all he was asking for in that 18-minute rant. He was just asking, well, perfect, what's the justification for it being counterintuitive, generally speaking? Obviously, we didn't get into that initially because you asked me a question on what intuitive even means. So it's not like it's going to be useless at this point of the conversation. We just haven't gotten there yet, and you're rushing. So I take the general pro-life view, at least the general moderate view, to be a 20-week one. So they'll say, well, at the 20-week mark, it's counterintuitive. It's going to be counterintuitive, at the 20-week mark, we're not going to be allowed to kill this unborn child because of the consciousness or something like that. And so I take it that like the general pro-choice view is just going to be kind of pro-sentience, saying, well, once it has consciousness, since consciousness is what we really value and what gives you the right to life, well, then we're going to have to protect it, right? And so I think this right here is going to lead to really, really counterintuitive notions, right?
I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi was cutting out for like the past, I'd say 2ish. No, not 2ish. Really, for like most of what you're saying. Is it okay if you could just give a quick?
That's crazy. What was the last thing you heard?
So the last thing I heard was that you said that I asked you to define intuitive, which wasn't the case, but after that, my Wi-Fi went completely blank.
Okay, so I guess I'll just start over, right? So basically, in Archie's 18-minute rant, all he was asking me for is the justification for the initial claim. And what I was explaining was that, of course, we haven't gotten into the justification for the initial claim yet, because the first thing he asked me after I made the claim was, well, most people think of pro-choice as intuitive, blah, 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 blah. So what does intuitive mean, or what does counterintuitive mean? And so that's why we haven't gotten into it yet. And so it's not like the claim right now is useless or whatever. He's just rushing the dialect, right? But as for the justification of the view, I was explaining how I take the general pro-choice view to be, the moderate, like 20-week view. They'll say that at 20 weeks, that's when you cannot have an abortion. And they'll say that because they take it at like your consciousness or whatever is what gives you the right to life. So once this person has once this being has consciousness, it's now worthy of protection and you can't kill it, whatever like that. And so I think this type of view right here is going to lead to various counterintuitive inclusions, such as it's going to end up saying non-human animals, which we would trivially recognize are not persons or do not have the right to life, do have the right to life, right? So like rats, for example. Well, rats are going to be conscious, right? They're going to have metacognition, even more conscious than like infants and some 1-year-olds. But obviously, like, they're not going to be persons. That's just going to be the vast intuition of all people, right? And so I think that's going to be one example of being counterintuitive. Another example of being counterintuitive is going to be a case like this, where, say, like, we have a newborn baby, right? But they're born without consciousness, and say they will be conscious in the next like 2 minutes, right? So I think it seems to most people that you ought not burn this baby at T0 and then let the fire just run rampant on this baby's body for 1 minute and 30 seconds and then stop the fire and let the baby become conscious so that the baby will live with those burns and stuff like that after they're conscious. So, that severe scarring, that permanent damage. But if it's the case that that's wrong, well, then it must mean that, even though they don't have consciousness, well, they're worthy of some protection. Or it must mean that we're valuing the future ascensions there, even though there's no past ascensions, right? And if we value the future ascensions there, even though there's no past ascensions, well, it's not going to be a reason to not value the future ascensions from conception or something like that, right? So it's obviously, I think it's going to lead to counterintuitive conclusions. I think that's just going to be 2 examples of something being counterintuitive.
So now that you're done with your schizophrenic spiel, obviously you said initially that we hadn't got into it yet, and I'm not going to go over that too much, but perfect. I hope you understand when I ask you to prove something, that's like going into the next segment. You know what I mean? But to just what you actually said, I mean, you said that, obviously at 20 weeks you cannot have an abortion because our consciousness is what gives us access to life. And once it acquires such, obviously you can't kill such much. Obviously, this isn't going to be something that's just a singular, unique commitment of the view you're attempting to oppose, which in this instance, I believe you said like something of pro-sentience or pro-choice. This is just one potential argument for such. So even if one were to agree that this wouldn't be like a necessary argument. Wow. Twice cutting me off after asking for a talking stick. How shocking. So would you rather Apollo mute you? Or would you rather like behave? Thank you. Now, to what I was previously saying, obviously, you're saying that this is something that's unique of such variable, or not variable, but such belief system. This is not the case. So even if one were to agree to such a commitment, this still wouldn't seem to prove your position, because there are other positions that still negate yours that don't hold to such unique commitment. And if your entire goal here is to fulfill your position, you cannot explain or like try to demonstrate the opposite position when in truth, this isn't just some form of like objective negation, because there are other views that still oppose yours. For example, pro-sentience doesn't necessarily hold to such commitments. Obviously, it's unique of the variable of the 20 weeks part. Consciousness doesn't hold to such. Pro-death doesn't hold to such, because it doesn't really matter about whether or not it's 20 weeks or 1 week. We just want everyone dead. There are multiple positions that go against yours that are unique of the commitments you've attempted here to defeat or explain why it's counterintuitive of. So this wouldn't really matter. But let's imagine that even in that fact that this wasn't the case, and for some reason there's just black and white, this view versus that view. Obviously, you initially listed that non-humans which do not have a right to life are stated to be, such a unique fact of consciousness. You stated that rats have metacognition, but can't be persons. It's going to be the idea of said, instance. Obviously, this presupposes the idea of what we even mean when we say a right to life. I mean, such words are very, very nuanced. When we reference things, such philosophical things such as a right to life, it seems in this instance you presuppose your personal idea of right to life, of what you assume people intuitively take. But that's something I would put into question. I actually do think that people have very nuanced views on other animals that contrast similarly to how people view humans, which is sad, but it is something that's actually not very rare, and we can spot multiple times, even within Western society. So if you'd like to discuss that, we can next. But yeah, that isn't going to be fulfilling of your position regardless. Obviously, when you reference a newborn baby that it's, let's say, for instance, it's born without consciousness, and that, it will be conscious in the next 2 minutes, and that we ought not to burn such a baby. We have to explain what even does it mean to have consciousness. People value the potentiality of such within that view as well, rather than the actual action or causation of having it. This isn't a view that's just unique of every person that takes it. I wouldn't even say it's unique of the view of majority of people who take it, because majority of people, at least statistically speaking, are not going to strictly go to this view because of the idea that said such being has a consciousness. Usually, it's going to refer to the potentiality of it. Otherwise, that'd be a completely self-defeating view, which I feel like you understand, which is why I'm confused why you gave such a rushed attempt at a response there. But you essentially said for like a conclusion that if we value, such two things, that it'd be counterintuitive that most people wouldn't agree with the idea of the 20 weeks thing, that there's no reason to uniquely hit the conclusion. You have not uniquely hit your conclusion by any means. All of these responses, for some reason, have been like base level 2021 responses, as if you're going against a 12-year-old. But we have to understand, Perfect, we're not just dealing with one perspective, we're dealing with multiple perspectives. So if you're going to give your personal perspective and explain why your perspective is correct, you have to uniquely explain why your perspective is correct and what is uniquely true of your perspective that differs from every other perspective that negates it. Thank you, Perfect.
Great, I'm unmuted. Listen to this nigga going 30-minute rants with zero substance, right? So at the outset, I said, I think generally pro-choice views are going to lead to counterintuitive conclusions. Then I said that I think the general pro-choice view is going to be this 20-week view, the viability or the consciousness view. That's going to be the general moderate view, right? If you want like statistics for that or something like that, we can get that, but I think that's pretty obvious. That's what's labeled as the moderate view in the literature. It's widely discussed. So that's just pretty obvious. But if you want to go over that, we can, right? So you're talking about a pro-death view. Like, obviously, people aren't going to hold that pro-death view or whatever like that. But even if you want to talk about a pro-death view, that seems like a view that's obviously going to be counterintuitive, because most people aren't going to be pro-death. Most people aren't going to agree to outcomes where they're just killing people or something like that. Sorry, there's hella cars. So it's kind of, I don't know if y'all can still hear me. Can y'all?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, bro, we can hear you.
No, okay. We cannot hear you, nigga.
Okay, so getting on to the pro-sentience examples. He said, rats, something about rats and persons. I'm not even sure if he knows what he was talking about on this point. Like, obviously, no one's going to say that a rat has the right to life. Everyone is going to think that rats ought to die, or at least the vast, vast majority of people they're not going to think that like rats ought to be put up in buildings in New York City or something like this. So even though they have metacognition, which it seems like he doesn't understand what that is, metacognition is just like the ability to reflect on one's choices, basically, reflect on the fact that I am thinking, stuff like that. So given that they have this type of consciousness, given that they have high order states, maybe he doesn't understand this, but there's something called low order and high order states, very basic. A low order state is going to be like basic sensory experience, like my sight, taste, etc. Then a high order state is just going to be my ability to reflect on those. That's what we generally mean by consciousness, right? If anything, if he means something else by consciousness, I don't really know what he means. And I don't think that's going to be the general view of consciousness, right? We're going to generally agree that like monkeys or primates are conscious, dolphins, elephants, but obviously we're not going to say these types of animals are persons whatsoever. So I didn't really see his refutation to this point. That's just going to seem to be a counterintuitive outcome of the general pro-choice view, right? Which is just the initial claim. Now, going on to the second example of burning someone, all he said was, well, we have to talk about what it means to be conscious, right? But that's retarded because we're stipulating in the hypothetical that it will become conscious in 2 minutes. Whatever you mean by conscious, it will be that thing in 2 minutes. So we obviously don't have to address what we mean by conscious. You can just go off what you mean and stipulate that within the hypothetical, and we can still talk about whether or not it's wrong to burn that baby, right? And it seems like he didn't answer us because I think he didn't answer because he agrees that obviously we shouldn't burn that baby and let it live with those atrocious scars, even though it's not conscious at the moment, which means that there is some warrant of protection for beings, even if they don't have consciousness at the moment, right? So, like, I think the view is pretty much in good shape. Obviously, I'm much more concise. He just rambled for 30 minutes with no substance at all. I think it's just the definition of fake tier 2. And yeah, he can give a shitty response now. I mean,
Thank you. So now that you're done, which has actually been for about 3 minutes and 45 seconds, which is 40 seconds longer than mine. That's interesting. I'll respond to what you're saying now. So obviously it's very, very important to address what we both mean by consciousness, because let's say that I reach a different answer than you. Obviously, if that were the case, then we would both have different ideas of when the baby would actually reach consciousness. For example, one would initially say that when they are immediately born, they can reach a state of consciousness, even if they don't necessarily have every sensory commitment that some people define as consciousness, which would obviously lead to some, internalized issues in our basis. Now, you said that what I didn't have is substance. I mean, we have to even address what even is substance, regarding a debate. I mean, obviously, in the example of like instance, it has to be essential. It has to
no
be core
fucking
something
substance
of
at
the.
all.
Oh, weird.
Fuck, just mute
What
me,
the?
bro. I can't control myself. This nigga's
No,
trash.
it's okay. This is your therapy session.
Go ahead.
We know
okay.
you can't control
Continue.
yourself,
This nigga is
freaky
dark.
ass nigga.
No, it's okay. Yo, y'all gotta stop sending that in chat. That's fucked up. Continue, bro. Oh, he's local muted. Thank you for enchambering the nigger monkey. Now, back to what I was saying personally. I initially have already addressed the fact that, in this instance, this is what substance is. Substance would be me relating directly to the point and giving a point that responds and explains why, at least in this instance, it wouldn't be very counterintuitive, at least by what you're saying, and why even if we were to say it was counterintuitive, it wouldn't necessarily relate to your point. If both of these points are proven, that means your argument is irrelevant. So it is very serious, Perfect, and I'd suggest you listen up because you haven't responded to any of my points for some reason. You've just babbled on saying that it's retarded. The direct point that I'm making, Perfect, is that if you're going to claim and make such huge and significant and extraordinary claims as to the fact that everybody thinks that animals, which you said like non-human animals, as in like rats, do not have a right to life, that is something that requires an extraordinary amount of evidence. I gave you different ways that you can list that evidence, which would be, giving a statistic, giving some formulation of data, something of the nature, but you failed to do that, which you still have the opportunity to do because you're not muted in chat, but you haven't because you don't actually have that. Because there is not going to be a singular statistic, Perfect, that tells you most people around the world don't think rats have the right to life. I hate to let you know, but that is not a provable claim. So I just want you to make claims that are within your personal standard. You know what I mean? You made the claim that for some reason people, wouldn't intuitively go for pro-death. I don't think you understood. That wasn't the point. Perfect. The point was, even if one were to say such thing is intuitive, this wouldn't uniquely be something true of your personal position, because things that people intuitively can understand, unless you're going this based off of some kind of like accurate formulation of data, there can be something true, uniquely true of pro-death that can't necessarily be found intuitively. There could be something that is true of such a position that people wouldn't initially, go based off of. That upon further research and further accurate study, they may be like, oh shit, this could be true. That's why I was saying your entire argument of the whole counterintuitive thing, cool. It's a cool argument that you still haven't even proven. But at the end of the day, you have to understand there are different perspectives that still are very, very unique from yours. You've only given a reason for why pro-choice, at least what it would seem the commitments of what you're saying pro-choice, would be counterintuitive, which I'm going to go into why those reasons are retarded for not too long, because I've already responded previously that you haven't fully responded to. But there are other views, Perfect, that you have to understand that still don't necessarily agree with you. Your job and your burden here is to prove why uniquely your view is true. What is uniquely true about your conclusion that is not true about any other personalized view on abortion? And this has not been something you've been able to fulfill. Now, to your initial, or not your initial, but to the second point that you made about the baby consciousness, I've already addressed why it's important to define consciousness. Now, you stated that you were fine with my definition. Obviously, the idea of sensory ability, we have to understand. I've already responded with the potentiality point. I've already explained why this isn't going to be a view that's necessarily just unique of pro-choice, and also why this isn't even something that entirely explains pro-choice or views that disagree with you, because there could be very nuanced, views on majority that don't necessarily value the immediate time that their consciousness, but also can value the potentiality and the for this consciousness and sentience. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very, very clear. This isn't very confusing what I'm saying. I'm failing to see how you don't think this is substance wise, but I can give multiple instances of it. I can give like a few statistics. I know Moxie just helped me a little bit with like a statistic that I can give if you still believe that this view is counterintuitive, that most people wouldn't naturally reference it because you referenced the prima facie earlier, which is statistically false. But I would just like you to respond and fully respond to my points. Not to call them retarded, not to say that they're not substance-based, because everyone just clearly heard me explain why they're connected to your point. But I just want you to attack my argument and prove your claim. That's all, Mr. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone's on your side. So the first refutation that this dimwit made was, well, to say that to say that most people don't think rats are persons is extraordinary. That's a crazy claim. Like that requires extreme evidence and deep statistics that are random controlled trials or something. Like, obviously, people dislike rats. There is a prejudice against rats. If a person sees a rat, they either jump up and hide, or they immediately want to kill it. Let me post you a source right here. Prejudice against rats. Niggas hate rats. This is very obvious. Same, like, bro. Same to do with dolphins. Same to do with the monkeys. Now, look, we don't hate dolphins. We don't hate monkeys. We may even have laws to protect them, but we don't give them the right to life. We don't give them housing. We don't give them niggas social security. We don't make sure that they're protected. They obviously don't they obviously don't have the right to life. This is not extraordinary. Look, it's even in contention whether or not human unborn babies have the right to life. You think people think animals have it? Knowing that they're not even the same species as us and that we have a species bias, obviously that's just a ridiculous thing for Archie to say. Obviously, niggas do not think rats are persons. And so that seemed to be the only substantive refutation he had to that counter example, right? And now he keeps saying, well, let's talk about what consciousness is. Now, I already said what I thought consciousness is. I thought consciousness was just low order and then high order states, right? Low order states is just sensory experience, like my sight, my taste, stuff like that. A high order state is going to be the ability to reflect on the lower order states. So I am tasting, or I am seeing, or I am thinking, and stuff like that. I think that's all that consciousness is. right? And so you keep asking me, what is that? That's my definition. And now let's go back to the example, right? Since rats have that, and I think you would agree that rats have that, well, it seems to be that that counterexample is in good shape. And so that is just going to be a counterintuitive implication on the general pro-choice view. Now, look, something else he seemed to misunderstand was that the initial claim I made was not that all pro-choice views are going to lead to some counterintuitive conclusion, because I can't hear all pro-choice views. Someone might have a completely unique pro-choice view that's not in the literature at all. So, of course, I wouldn't say all of them have it. I said the general pro-choice view is counterintuitive, and it seems like he doesn't appreciate that statement right there, right? And then I I went through in detail what I took the general pro-choice view to be, which is the moderate view, that at 20 weeks it's wrong. Most people are not going to hold the extreme liberal view that you can go all the way up to 9 months. Most people are not going to hold the extreme conservative view that it stops at conception. Most are going to hold that moderate view that it stops at, like, viability or whatever, or the 20-month mark, or whatever the baby looks like a baby or something like that. So that seems to me to be the general pro-choice view, and Archie has never contended that. It seems like he recognizes that. So I don't understand why he keeps levying this accusation of my counter example is not accounting for all the pro-choice views. That's never what I set out to do. At the outset, I told you I was only countering the general one, and you agreed to go forth on that proposition. So don't try and back out now, right? You're stuck. So stick to the substance and don't get distracted, okay? Now let's go back to this burning example. Now, you didn't really flesh out how on earth it was relevant to discuss what the consciousness was or not. Even if I didn't even give you a view of consciousness, right? The example, the hypothetical, again, is merely stipulating that it will be conscious. Whatever you mean by that, it will be conscious, right? And so we're saying if it will be conscious, whatever you mean by that, take your pre-theoretical notion or whatever. Well, is it okay to burn this baby? I still haven't heard a clear answer on whether or not he thinks it's okay to burn this perfectly healthy baby with a brain defect, which will be cured naturally in 2 minutes, severely, with scarring it for life, making it go through extreme trauma for the rest of his life, extreme pain, just because it didn't have consciousness 2 minutes prior. That seems ridiculous to me, and I think it would seem ridiculous to most people. And I just haven't heard you properly address that. And so, like, Archie, I think this might be the time to go to conclusions.
Yeah, no. Thanks for the suggestion, though. But to respond to fully what you were saying about your schizobabble, so obviously we have to understand the reality, is that you've yapped for 10 minutes about why rats shouldn't have school uniforms and why you're not able to prove uniquely that your position is true. Now, I'm going to clarify what we initially agreed to, Perfect, because clearly you've been on your walk for too long. I don't know if you've been around like the water that's poisoning the frogs and turning them gay. I don't really know what's up with you. But the reality of the nature is, Perfect, you initially agreed to defending your stance. I asked what proposition you were going to defend, and you said the proposition was going to align with that of pro-life. So that means you're going to have to uniquely prove why your position is true, Perfect. I know that you're used to old debate.com metrics to where people only thought pro-life and pro-choice existed. No. It's a lot more nuanced than that. You know what I mean? There are a lot of different views that oppose yours. So it's seemingly you haven't addressed that, and I don't think you're going to, because you think you're only defending against for some reason, the general pro-choice view, which even then, what do we even mean by a general pro-choice view? Because I also already stated initially that I don't even believe all of your commitments align with that of the majority of accounts for what people consider pro-choice and what commitments they personally align with when they take it. So yeah, and no, you didn't explain what we meant. Perfect. Now, back to what I was saying about the whole rat thing during my last point. Perfect. I'm not saying that people consider rats of the same level as humans. I'm not saying that this is the case at all. I'm just saying that some people do consider the fact that there are rats. You stated initially that nobody considers that rats have the right to life. When we say nobody, even though you're gonna respond by saying, no, I didn't mean that, that was the claim you made. You stated that nobody believes these rats or non-human animals should have the right to life. So that means you're saying there is no person who holds to such a view. I hold to such a view. That's just not aligned with your personal view. But let's say that, I'm not even the one who necessarily agrees with that. Statistically, there's going to be at least one person on Earth that agrees with such. This is a mathematical fact, perfect. So that's why I was stating that it was very, very exhaustive. And no, that was a tracking error number 5. I do not agree to this, perfect. Now, you haven't really proven your claim. I've already explained as to why. You asked me to prove, or to answer your question about babies burning. Do I personally care? Not really, honestly. I mean, when I think of that idea, all I think about is when I'm going to make my dino nuggets next. I don't really care too much about whether babies burn. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's definitely not a casual thought of mine, but that's not really going to matter too much. The reason why it's not going to matter, perfect, is because your view is not.
Hey, what's the debate, man?
Oh, my bad. I cut out. My Wi-Fi cut out. But no, my view is just critiquing the idea of pro-life, which I initially stated. I clarified to Apollo, and I clarified to the entire VC that I will be critiquing this view. I am not personally taking the position of pro-choice, so my interpretation isn't going to matter. So will I care? Not really, especially if they're black. Probably not. But does that matter? Also, not really, because again, I'm just critiquing such a view. Someone even called it an agnostic adjacent, which is what someone said earlier. I believe Apollo or someone of the nature. So that's not going to be the case. Also, for the entire point about you saying that it's counterintuitive or something of that nature, naturally, for the whole prima facie thing, Moxie luckily sent the statistic in chat for me. So that of it in itself debunks your entire point. So you can't argue there's no substance because not only have I given a preponderance of evidence, but I've lined your logic to not be the case. You can't claim that I'm not tracking because I've been writing down everything you're saying and I'll just send the notes in chat. So the only thing you're really left to do is uniquely prove why your position is that of, true. And you have to prove exactly all of the extraordinary claims you've made about people's perspectives regarding the idea of how they view pro-choice, regarding the idea of how they view non-living animals, and regarding the fact of how they view consciousness.
That was very motivating.
Thank you.
Can we get a mute on the big interlocutor?
That was a load of baloney. I'm gonna be honest. So look, the first thing he misunderstood, and I hate to repeat myself again, but he keeps saying, I don't know why Perfect is talking about the general pro-choice view or whatever. So let's get this straight. Archi himself recognizes that at the beginning, he didn't commit himself to a particular pro-choice view, right? All he committed himself to was critiquing my view, right? And so he asked me, what's the proposition you want to defend? And so the proposition that I gave him was the general pro-choice views are counterintuitive, right? And then I probably explained about 5 different times what I took the general pro-choice view to be. So look, even if you want to disagree with me about what the general pro-choice view is,